On this episode of We're No Damn Experts, Rebecca and Madi have an expert on the podcast that tells them everything they need to know about birding in Great Falls, Montana.
Best damn podcast, the best damn town. You want to get up, get ready to get down. With its big wide sky and the wild river Thames. If you want to go, we can take you there. To Great Falls, Montana.
Welcome to the greatest damn town in Montana, Great Falls. I'm Rebecca Ingham.
And I'm Madi Hazard.
And we're no damn experts. We're getting a little better with our ability to run this podcast because it's the second one this week, and I'm pretty excited about it.
And we have an expert with us.
We do. One that I reached out to and said, hey, I know nothing about this topic, and I'm hoping someone else in the community does. And she says, I do. Pick me. Let me tell you everything you ever wanted to know about birding in the Great Falls area. Please welcome to the podcast the illustrious birding expert, Beth Hill.
Well, I don't know about expert. I can tell you I have seen over 230 different species in Cascade County.
Alone?
Last year, I wasn't even trying, and I think it ended up being 197.
Oh, so Beth,
That's a lot of species, Beth.
Yes, and I missed some major ones, and I've added some new ones even this year already. So,
So new species you've not seen before in Cascade County.
Ever was the one I saw. Ever was the one I saw 2 days ago.
How long have you lived here?
I have lived in Great Falls since 1983.
Okay, so
And that's real. I didn't really do much in the way of birding before I got here.
okay.
I was bored and I need to get out and walk every day.
Okay.
And I ended up walking along the river before the River's Edge Trail was
right.
even established. And then one day I saw something out there and I was like, oh, I wonder what that is. So I brought binoculars with me the next day.
Okay, so a little bit of a peeping Tom thing going on.
Okay.
I'm
Oh
excited.
my gosh, it's a ringneck duck. Look at that thing. It's
Did you have a book? Because there wasn't Google.
no. At that point, I had gone to a few Audubon chapter meetings.
Okay.
And they would have bird identification before the meetings. And they go through these birds and you go, yeah. But all of a sudden it's like, I know that bird. I saw that in a bird ID, so I knew what that one was.
So you had the binoculars readily available.
She went back with the binoculars.
Well, I mean, at her house.
The next time I went out, it was like, I'm carrying binoculars. And I think I've had them on me ever since.
So I have a question for you, Beth. Have you ever listened to our podcast? It's okay if you say no. So if you were to go back and listen to all 64 episodes, a reoccurring theme is we know nothing about birds.
Nothing.
We joke about it. I thought probably faithful listeners, when we said we were going to bring an expert on about something we know nothing about, there was probably going to be hunting, because we did one about hunting too. But my question is, we know nothing about birds, and then you're all of a sudden saying I don't have binoculars, but I've already been to Audubon chapters.
Audubon. Audubon.
Okay,
Audubon.
Audubon, like bonbons. Okay. Mm-hmm. So there's people out there that enjoy bird watching and do it religiously.
Yes, and then there's people that enjoy just watching the birds at their bird feeder.
That's me. 'Cause
Okay.
I'm not even at the bird feeder part. Like my husband,
My husband got a bird feeder at an auction, hung it in our tree, and is excited about the birds that come and eat there, except for certain birds. He only wants the pretty birds to show up, not the black birds.
So the other day, my husband points out the window and he says, blah, 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 this bird. And I mentioned this on a podcast episode, so I told him I talked about him. And he said that was a black-eyed something. I can't remember now. But he was so excited because he is one of those people that knows all the birds like you and has studied them.
Well, I've even met a few kids in grade school and junior high that knew every bird we could throw at them.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, I was just amazed. There are some young birders around here, and it just kind of blows your mind. It's like I didn't start till I was, like out of school and graduated and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's all levels, and some people, the bird feeder is all they need. They just need to see that life coming in and out of their yard, and that's fine for them, and that's fine.
How many bird feeders do you have?
0.
Well, I have a suet feeder, and I have one sunflower feeder. And yeah, I know. All I attract is house finches and house sparrows and a half a dozen
And squirrels.
chickadees. The squirrels we've managed to foil from getting up into the bird feeder. We throw out peanuts to them, and unfortunately now the squirrels are knocking at our door asking us for more peanuts.
I tell you, squirrels get
at
aggressive.
At least it's a metal door, and
They can't scratch through the wood. You're safe for a while.
yeah, one of the nuts got wedged in the deck between the planks, and they kind of chewed the wood there trying to get to the nut. So anyway,
Before we did this podcast, I was like, well, I'm going to go to Benton Lake Wildlife Refuge because I've never been there before, and we're going to have Beth on the podcast who knows everything about birds, and I don't want to seem completely clueless. So I went there at the end of December.
Oh, in December?
So I am.
Everything was frozen.
So I am still completely clueless. I didn't see one bird, as I tell my daughter, we're going to go see birds. And she's excited. She's about 3.5 years old. So she can identify eagles. So,
Okay. And we've got a lot of those during the winter.
yeah, I've seen 2 within the past 2 weeks, I think.
yeah?
Yeah. So I still know nothing about them, not even know the appropriate time to go see birds. But we do have these brochures that we give out to our guests that are interested in bird sightseeing. And I know the Lewis and Clark Interpretive Center, on one of their weekend demonstrations, that will be bird watching because they're located right around the River's Edge Trail. Great opportunity. So when's the best time to see birds in the Great Falls area? And then a follow-up question, what's your favorite location to see? Like, what is I cannot miss this. I need to go see the birds here and now.
There is like no one best time. It depends on what you're going to be looking for.
Okay.
Right now, you're not going to be looking for a lot of songbirds.
Okay.
Because most of those eat insects or little fruits, and there's not too much in the way of that.
So right now we're just
around.
having the predators.
Most of the time, we have waterfowl.
Okay, yeah, I forgot about those guys hanging out at Giant
Yep,
Springs.
we've got-
This time of year, waterfowl.
Waterfowl is the big thing. And then we have our raptors.
Okay.
And the raptors are your hunting birds, with the big hooked beaks, like bald eagles. We have golden eagles. We have rough-leg hawks. We have red-tail hawks in the wintertime. And we have occasional, which I saw the other day, gerfalcon. We still have prairie falcons in the winter. Not as many as in the summer, but we'll have merlins and male kestrels. The females migrate south. The males will stick around, which is kind of interesting, isn't
That
that?
is cool.
Do you know why?
Don't know.
Do you want to know? Or
Distance makes the heart grows fonder.
Yeah. And, like our osprey, they migrate south. They're obligate fish eaters.
Okay.
So when the rivers are frozen, it's kind of hard to find a meal.
Yeah. Okay.
Although one showed up yesterday around Livingston, and I'm not sure if it's going to stick around or not. Or maybe it knows something we don't.
So, do you get like a bird alert to
Yeah,
know?
well,
How did
okay.
you know this?
I'm thinking
okay.
like the midnight barking system for
There's
the
a
100
tag
month
that goes off.
Years ago, it was an answering machine that, you could call up a phone number and they would tell you all the bird alerts for an area. Nowadays, it's Ebird.
I thought it would have been on Twitter.
Well, there are bird sharing groups, but Ebird is a product of Cornell University
Okay.
in Ithaca.
Western
And
Ornithology magazine.
The School of Ornithology, they put together this program, and it started really small, and it's global now, and it's called Ebird, and birders will go out in the field. They have an app on their phone. I could show you, and they can enter all the birds they're seeing.
Oh, wow.
The birds they're seeing, how many they're seeing them. It knows exactly where they are. And when you're finished with your little bird trip that you're out there doing, you can just hit submit, and it goes into the data bank.
So my mischievous point of view is like, what if I download it and be like, I definitely saw
A flamingo.
a bird of paradise. Like, what kind of fact checking are we going? Or
They do have, every list that is submitted is reviewed.
okay,
So if there's something...
Thank goodness.
Yeah, if there's an
it's
odd...
peak reviewed, not peer reviewed.
It's they have good birders reviewing those things. So if something shows up that's out of season, in the wrong continent, the reviewer will catch that. They'll ask the submitter, explain why you thought it was this bird. Sometimes you just hit the wrong
Button.
button, so to speak.
Okay.
Or did you really see 12,000? Are you sure? Oh, no, it was only 12. I hit the zero.
I got excited.
Sometimes it's like, yeah, there really were 12,000. So they ask you to confirm what you saw. So they double check that.
I think I would be banned from that app. They're like, we're not dealing with you anymore.
And then you can sign up if you want for like rare birds seen in a certain location. I just have rare birds for Montana, and I
Okay.
get a daily email. And
Oh.
so the osprey showed up
Oh,
as a rare bird. Yeah. So it is out of
can
season. and
users
that's
share
how
their
I know.
photos?
Yes, you can add to your photos or your submission. You can add photos. You can add sound recordings.
Oh, because there's this prototype of a bird feeder that has a camera on it, and it's
Okay.
going to record the bird that eats there and then identify the species.
Okay, there is an app you can put it on any mobile device that you have called Merlin, and it's put out by Cornell.
Okay.
Merlin. It will ask you can identify birds with this by looking at them. It will ask you a couple basic questions like, one, where are you?
Okay.
Two, what's the habitat? Are you in a lake, in a forest, in a meadow, that type of thing? It's just like 5 or 6 basic options there. What size is the bird? Like chickadee size, robin, goose, mallard, real easy. And what were the main colors?
Okay.
And it will give you a list, and usually it's just about a half a dozen of what that bird most likely is.
Huh.
And I would say 95% of the time it's right there.
Do you get points?
So you can actually link, if you want to, identifying birds through Merlin to an Ebird account. Oh, there's so many
They're
different
integrated?
things. They're integrated.
Holy moly.
You can also take a picture of that bird, and it's got the learning to match it up with what you saw.
Yeah. So
You can take a sound recording of that bird that you're watching singing, and it can match it up to what you're watching.
So now I just need you to know this. I don't care about birds. They're all pretty birds. They're birds. Yay, birds. I'm now excited. I am going to get the apps because if you think about it, I'm going to tell my husband about it. I think his mind is going to be blown once he finds out all of this that you can do because he loves them. But it's kind of like one of those people who played that, Catch 'em All, the Pokemon Go.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's real life and you're not.
Someone
Actual stuff.
described it recently. It's like a big Pokemon game.
Okay, because I didn't like that either, but now I do. I do like this, where this is going from, because I'm going to have to get the sound recording, and I'm going to go by my dad, who often teases mourning doves and does their whistle, and he confuses a lot of people too. And they're like, "What is that noise?" Like, that's
So you're
my
going to
dad.
record
Yeah.
your dad
And
and
I'm
see?
going to see if we can be a trickster.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to be careful if you're playing recordings. You don't want to do it during like breeding season.
Oh.
You might, especially if somebody's sitting on a nest, you don't want to pull that bird away from its nest
That's
because
what
it's
my-
taking care of the eggs. So you have to be really careful
I'm gonna
in
yell
what
at my
situation
father.
you're doing
You
that.
do it.
He's done
kindly,
this. He
but
does
do
it.
it.
You know, if there's just 2 birds here and they're sitting there cooing at each other, well,
Just
fine.
Okay.
But if you're trying to draw a bird out, you have to be careful. Think about what
Why?
you're doing.
Okay.
Yes.
okay. Now I have to ask a question.
Okay.
When birds fly in a V, do you know why one side is longer than the other?
No, it's always interesting, isn't it?
Because there's more
and
birds
it just
on
kind of
that side.
shifts, and it shifts too, and it depends on which one. The geese don't. The Canada geese don't change too much.
Okay.
But the snow geese, it's constantly changing.
Like
Okay.
they're running in formation, and someone
it's
else has
just-
to come to the front.
Yeah, they do. They're constantly changing, and it's just like so fascinating to watch those snow geese.
So, how many times have you been to Freeze Out Lake during the snow geese migration?
Oh, just a couple because it's so crowded.
Oh,
And
you
if
want the
re-
birds to yourself.
Well, and if you really want to see them get up and fly off the lake in the morning because they do it like right before sunrise,
Yeah.
you have to get up so early in the morning. And it's usually so cold at that time of year. I mean, it's March, and that 20 degrees feels like 40 below. I mean, it's just so cold. And you got to, it's just,
So I have the brochure in front of me. I'm not this smart, people. So Freeze Out Lake Wildlife Management Area, it's 11,000 acres. And you already said the mid-March, but flocks up to 100,000 snow and Ross geese songbirds. So I'm going to go there when it's busy during sunrise, and I won't care because I'm taller than most people. So I can be able to see over them.
yeah, and it takes a few times, unless you're going with somebody that's been there before, to figure out where should I be sitting to get the best view of them when they take off the lake. And sometimes this part of the lake is still frozen and this one's thawed out, and other times it's
So you need to go by the
different.
thought out part?
Yeah,
Or find the mass concentration of
they're
people.
going to
They could
prefer.
be massively wrong.
Yeah, they're going to prefer sitting on the water, the open water, rather than on the ice.
Okay.
So, if you can scout it out the day before, or just, plan on going up there a couple days.
Wow. Okay. I'm excited for this because it's January.
Right.
January.
Yep, 2 months.
2 more months. And I'm going to be like, sorry, Rebecca, I'm late for work today. I was looking at hundreds of thousands of birds. I'm definitely going to take my daughter too.
And it's not just the snow geese. There's swans up there. Sometimes there's
Swans?
thousands of swans.
Well, there's Clark's Nutcracker too.
Have you?
That's more going to be not at Freeze Out Lake. You're
No,
going to
that's
see
part
that
of-
more in the mountains.
Oh, yeah. That's part of the Augusta Loop. Sorry. I'm just reading.
I was going to say, if you take the Augusta Loop, you might find them there, closer to the mountains.
Have you done the Augusta Loop, which is a scenic drive?
Yeah, a couple times, at different times of the year.
Yeah.
Sometimes I haven't seen a thing, and other times it's...
Have you done one of the demonstrations with the Lewis and Clark Interpretive Center where they're bird watching and
I
binoculars?
haven't done it with them.
Why not? You don't think they're good enough? Wow. I'm just
One, until 2 months ago, I've been working, 50 hours a week. So,
She has a job.
it's just a job.
so I had a job, and so 8 to 6 every day, and Saturdays it just didn't allow for
okay. All
too,
right.
too
I
much.
just didn't know
in
if
the
you
way
had
of
like
that.
some kind of bird rivalry.
No,
going on.
I have done a couple with Fish, Wildlife, and Parks out of from there.
Do you ever lead them?
Yeah.
Oh.
So, and then our Audubon chapter will have field trips. We try to have a field trip once a month.
Do you do adult field trips?
It's for whoever wants to come.
Okay. But
I think I even saw on the Facebook page you led a walk as part of that exploration. Either show up early for the meeting. Kept seeing your name everywhere on the Facebook page, so it's like, oh, she is probably our expert.
Yeah.
she's just crickets for the birds to eat.
Yeah. If I can, and to me, the smaller groups are better. I'm not real good with really big group looking for birds because, we scare them away.
Right.
They're
Oh, yeah.
harder to see. But I go out every day by myself, and
Probably the best
or
company
maybe
you have.
two. Yeah. Two people, and then you start talking to each other, and then
Don't
you start
talk.
forget to look for the birds, and you miss something, But yeah, it's really, and then if you have different age groups, I'm not really good with the 5-year-olds. they have such a short attention span, so it takes a different kind of a person to
You're
get
getting
them
me
engaged.
No, you're getting me excited. So that's something
But-
big.
Yeah.
So we talked about the technology. Beth, When did you buy your first bird book? Because you didn't have it when you saw the red-necked
Ringworm.
duck.
Ring duck bird.
The ring-necked duck. Actually, we did have some bird books at that point. I have my family's first Peterson's Field Guide. My
Okay.
mom gave that to me, so I think I took that.
Sorry.
Well,
It happens.
it was, we're dispersing the house
Yep.
stuff, and it was like, I want that. It doesn't have a book cover anymore, but it's there.
There.
Yeah, and then my mom gave me a book that she bought for her family one time for Christmas, I believe she told me, and it was Audubon's Big Bird book, and it's like even my mother birded. So I got it from somewhere.
Obviously.
I remember I had to go back home, and my mom was having problems. My dad was having problems, and I walked in the house, and everything just kind of fell apart. And we had to take my mom to the hospital. And it ended up being the last time she left home.
Oh,
So we were walking her out, and she already had significant dementia at that point. And, come on, Mom, let's go. She looked out the back window, and she goes, "Oh, look, there's a blue jay back there."
Still identifying birds.
And I look back there, and I'm going like, I don't see it. Where's this blue jay that she sees? She goes, "There's the blue jay back there. Come on, Mom, let's go." So that's just kind of poignant. Mom saw a blue jay, and it was the last thing that she
Do you
saw.
think of her whenever you see a blue jay now?
Well, we don't have too many blue jays around here.
But have you
yeah.
ever seen one then? Even though we don't have very many, it sounds like we
yeah.
still do.
That was back in Missouri. And there's
Okay.
blue jays all over the place. So if I go back and visit my brothers or sisters or
Aren't they
something.
mean birds? Are they? That's what I've heard. Is that wrong? Am I
Are
wrong?
there any mean birds besides predators? I mean, our references, we watched Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds.
I saw that at a very young age. Like my mother is horrible.
And most of them are gulls.
She exposed me to Stephen King. She would read the books, and then we'd go on drives, and she'd tell me about like, oh, this is the latest chapter in The Shining, and I'm 5 years old. So then she she forced me into watching the birds at a young age too. So obviously I'm scared of birds, but I shouldn't be. But blue jays, yes.
Jays are more of aggressive bird. I mean, they're a jay.
Okay.
They're in that family of birds. So yeah, they'll go in and they'll eat the eggs out of a nest or something like that.
Okay. Well, I sound like a horrible person right now. I do like birds. I just like pet birds. When I was 10, my birthday gift, though my mother said it couldn't be named as the birthday gift because of the amount of money and, we had a cockatiel. And his name was Ganicas, which is Spanish for marbles, because everyone in my family's all their names start with an M, so we needed the pet too. And he lived until he was 24.
Oh,
That's pretty good.
Or 25, yeah.
how long do birds normally live? I thought maybe a year.
Nope, Ganicas was long.
Your cockatiels can live quite
Oh,
long, especially if they have adequate nutrition.
Yeah, we were always sure to... He ate eggs. Yeah, he would eat our morning eggs, and he
Cooked eggs?
Uh-huh. And he liked...
That's good.
He liked the pizza crust. He'd tunnel through that. And he would... If my mom left her wine on the counter, he would crawl down your arm, and he would perch up on the wine glass and drink it. Like, yep, I have pictures of that. So I do like birds.
Okay.
Sorry, we kind of digressed.
So
edit that part
lifespan of birds.
It depends. Your smaller birds is going to be shorter than your larger birds. I think there's been bald eagles over 30.
Oh, wow.
They
Wow.
monitored because through banding and
Right.
different ways of identifying them.
That's really
There's
long.
that one albatross that has had, 60, 70 years. Out on Midway Island or someplace out there that she comes back every year and lays another egg, and they've been watching her for like more than a lifetime. Yeah, she's amazing. I think she's Wisdom. That's her
Okay.
name, and you can just put Wisdom, the bird, in there, and you'll
Oh, cool.
find out about her.
So we were talking about, we were driving somewhere, and we saw a lot of quails. and it was on like a group of 40 or 20, just a lot. Does that happen often? Like on your scenic drives, do you see large group of birds that
Like a gang of birds hanging
really
out?
Sometimes, and those are birds that usually will hang out together.
like quails and pheasants?
I saw turkeys just north of Fort
Yeah,
Benton.
like the
20,
turkeys,
30.
they are flocking up in the wintertime, and your ground birds often do as well. And then in the springtime, of course, you have your grouse, like the sharp-tailed grouse out at Benton Lake.
Okay.
That right.
Oh, this one.
See that picture?
Oh, yeah. That's a pretty bird.
They come together on what they call the lek, L-E-K, and they dance. The big sage grouse have the real fancy dance, but the sharp-tails are really neat, and you can just hear them, and they cluck, and they purr, and they spin and bounce all around. You can reserve a space out at Benton Lake in there.
To watch the dancing?
To watch them. You can reserve it.
What? What do you mean? You can reserve?
There's like a little
blind.
shelter.
They have a blind
I
out there.
I saw the blind.
And in fact, now I haven't watched, but I know they have because they have a solar panel up there and some cameras out there that I think you can go to their website and watch what's going on too. But you can reserve a space out there. There's enough space for maybe 6 people in there.
Okay.
You go to look up Benton Lake National Wildlife Refuge and to the grouse blind, and then it tells you how to reserve a space, and basically just send them an email and you tell them, the 3 dates that you work best for you, and then you're putting a lottery for a drawing to go out there. So you have to reserve your space.
Is that the only way you can see the dance?
Because you have to get out there an hour before sunrise.
Okay.
Because they start dancing shortly before sunrise. Before there's very much light, you can hear them out there moving around.
Okay.
And they usually will pretty much finish by an hour after sunrise. So you have to be there an hour before and stay until at least an hour afterwards. So you have to get up, and this starts in the end of March through April to early May.
Okay.
And considering your driving time, you have to get up pretty early in the morning.
Another morning thing.
Very early in the morning, and sometimes it can be really cold, and other times it can be really windy.
I think it's just worth it.
It is.
I saw the sunrise this morning. We were collecting some video content, and we wanted to do it during sunrise, and it was definitely worth it now that I look at the video, because it was just a bluebird jay, or bluebird morning. What are bluebird skies?
Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been that exciting.
I've been out to... I put my name in every year out there, and I've been out several times.
Oh,
now.
yeah? Do you take friends with you? Is it like...
Sometimes, yep.
Or enemies? Or like whoever gets
It's
guys,
going to be 10 degrees out there. Do you want to come? It's kind of chilly, even if you put on your big baffin boots. Yeah, I know. It's like, it's still cold. And we're taking pictures of them.
Of course.
Yeah.
So
and
I
think it's cool. Then every once in a while, something else will come by. And one time we were sitting there watching them, and they were just carrying on. And all of a sudden, whoosh, everybody disappeared. And I looked up, and here comes this bald eagle just gliding right over the lek.
Oh, my... I think I would probably be too excited.
It was like...
You'd probably squeal, and
I would, because
the bald eagle would fly away.
When I first learned how to do topwater or spinning bait for bass fishing, we were on the lake at like sunset when the bass were hitting. You could hear them jump, and I'm yelling at my husband, "Get the boat over there! Like, go over there, let's cast!" And my husband's like, "You're scaring the fish. Like, you're ruining." So I might have to be one of those people that views it from the camera, or ruin it for everyone else. I'm like, "There's an eagle!"
Yeah. And then, if you know what some of the other birds sound like, you go like, there's something over here. What is that? Oh, and then you can hear the meadowlarks as they wake up in the morning, and then
the state bird of Montana.
Yeah.
The meadowlark.
So there's obviously more than just identifying birds. You're listening for sounds. You're taking in the environment, knowing their behaviors. There's a lot that goes into this.
Yeah, I mean, you can just look at the birds, but when you start looking at them, it's like, why did they do that? Or do they always do it this way? yeah, so you're learning about the birds and the habitats and why are they here and not here? So
I'm excited.
so there's a lot you can learn. It's just not a little feathered thing.
Right. I grew up in northern Montana. Montana's a very large state. I did not see my first sandhill crane until I lived in central Montana. Now, I can tell you, I thought that was the oddest looking bird I had ever seen in my life. I'm like, what planet have I just arrived at? And I was looking at that. Can you tell me what bird you've seen in this area where you're like, well, that's an odd looking bird? Or the one you're most surprised by the way it looks?
Well, the sandhill crane is looks prehistoric.
It does.
It sounds prehistoric when you hear it. And then if you hear it echoing, the first time I ran into it was down in Yellowstone Park. Probably 78, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was just like, we're walking on trails and you're just hearing it echoing way over here. And it's just so eerie sounding.
I dressed up as Big Bird for the Great Falls Symphony Halloween performance. Rebecca and I emceed the symphony's performance for that. And we learned that birds are just dinosaurs. So possibly the prehistoric looking sandhill crane
is more dinosaur-y than others.
So if you have kids that are interested in dinosaurs, then you can get them interested in birds because they're so related.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you start looking at, so where did birds come from? And you can go down another rabbit hole there.
Yeah. Which came first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah. So
I have another question. I have more questions now that we're continuing to talk. We also regurgitate information that you say to us, to our guests. So I'm going to sound really smart soon. If I'm visiting Great Falls for a few hours and I just want to enjoy birds, would you send someone out to Giant Springs State Park along the River's Edge Trail, or should they venture out to, say, First Peoples Buffalo Jump State Park? Because I see that's another area where people can go and watch birds.
It kind of depends on the time of the year.
Okay, so when should I send them where?
Right now, I would probably go down along Giant Springs and walk along the trail there.
Yeah,
because everything upstream is pretty well iced up, and I will go up in the Garden Home Park area along there where the Tribune is, and Broadwater Bay. It's pretty well frozen. There are times I go up there and there may be 5,000 Canada geese sitting and clucking around, and it's just amazing to hear them. And then all of a sudden they decide, breakfast time, let's go. And then they just start, and in 30 minutes they can all be gone.
Oh, wow.
And then they're all honking as they leave. That's just an amazing sight and sound to watch them and hear them all go out. And then there's like nothing left. So then things are pretty sparse there right now with all the ice. So if you go down to Giant Springs, it's a little...
Well, it's their spa there right now.
Yeah. So there's thousands of mallards, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. This year there isn't a lot of variety for some reason.
Okay.
There's thousands of mallards.
So
sometimes there's thousands of geese. So yesterday morning there were like, where are the geese? Well, there's about a dozen. It's like, I don't know where they were. The other morning there were 1,000 geese. But there were still 2,000 mallards.
Do you enjoy simple bird watching like at Gibson Pond when there's waterfowl there year round?
Those are domestic ducks.
They're sassy. They're getting sassier by the day.
Yeah.
They're definitely spoiled. And I think we're missing the sign that says don't feed them bread, because if you do, they'll get the angel wing.
Yeah, bread doesn't have a lot of nutrition in there for them, unfortunately. But they'll come up. So, I know those are domestic ducks. Although, when you're walking along the river and you're seeing, and it's like, that's not a mallard. That's way too big. It's one of those escapees. And sometimes you'll see, a pair or three of them, and you'll see them like all summer long. They're just up and down the river until they go somewhere. I don't know where they go.
Yeah.
But right now, down around Giant Springs, there are golden eyes. There's both barrows and common golden eye, mostly common golden eye. There's a lot of little buffle heads. The males have the little white buffle head. There's a few hooded mergansers, which are really cute looking guys. There's a pair of red-breasted mergansers, and the male there looks really neat. I think.
Who names these birds? I want to be in the bird naming
You
committee.
know, yeah, and there's not too many others. The hooded mergansers, the barrows, the common goldeneye for sure. Sometimes we will have, there's a few lesser scaup around. There's a few ringneck ducks around and a few redheads. But pretty much, sometimes we'll have a few others, but they're not there right now. There is a pair of trumpeter swans that are flying. They fly down and then they fly up, and they're sticking around down there around the Giant Springs area.
Huh.
Then you watch around, and of course there's bald eagles.
Yes.
Bald eagles at this time of year, they'll take injured ducks, and there is hunting right down there around Giant Springs. $100 have paid for a lot of areas around Giant Springs, so there is some duck hunting down there, and it ends on the 14th. But there are always injured ducks that come floating down the river, and the bald eagles will take them. So they're just soaring back and up and down. And there's adult bald eagles, and there's 1-year-olds, there's 2-year-olds, and there's 3-year-olds.
How do you tell the difference?
How much white they have?
Oh.
The 1-year-old bald eagles don't have any white on their head.
Okay.
And underneath, they're brown, but it looks like someone just took a toothbrush and white paint and went,
Okay.
and it's just kind of splattered with white underneath.
Huh.
It's kind of funny looking. By the time they're 3 years, they have some white streaks in the head, and you can see that.
Yeah, my husband probably helps feed the bald eagles then.
So,
And then there's also rough-legged hawks. They're more of a grassland because they're looking for more rabbits or voles and little tiny things. But every once in a while, you'll see them swoop over the river and then back when you're down there at Giant Springs. What else have I seen? The gerfalcon was great. It came flying up the river. My husband was downstream, and I was upstream, and I saw it coming, and I'm going like, whoa, that's a big, gray, heavily streaked falcon. Look at those pointed wings and steady wing beats. And I'm watching it. I'm going like, is it a prairie falcon or is it a Merlin on steroids? I don't know. It's a really, really huge bird. And then when I got to my husband, he said, I think I took a picture of a gerfalcon. And he shows me this really great picture. And I'm going like, and it was like full framed when he showed it to me. I'm going like, oh, gerfalcon. Yeah, we'd both seen the same bird.
That's awesome.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
So then outside of...
Well, I got to tell you about a gerfalcon. They reproduce above the Arctic Circle.
Okay.
So they reproduce way up there where it's always cold, on cliff edges and things like that. And they migrate down in the wintertime. So we'll see a few in the wintertime in Montana.
Because we're south to them.
We are
south for the winter.
Yeah, this is nice and warm weather for them down here, along with, I already mentioned the rough-legged hawk, also
Arctic
breeds.
Circle.
Yep. We have some other birds that come down here from the Arctic,
I
too.
would have never guessed we were the place that birds go south for the winter
I know.
at.
Yeah. Most of the red-tailed hawks that we have around here in the winter also come from, like, Alaska and north of here. And the ones that we have in the summertime, they move south.
Oh,
Okay.
So it's interesting. We have shrikes. We get both loggerhead and northern shrikes in Montana. But in the wintertime, we get the northern shrike, which reproduces north.
Okay.
And then so in the spring, he goes north, and the loggerhead shrike comes back from the south, and he'll breed and nest up in Montana in the summertime. They look similar, but it's kind of neat. We're right there where a lot of birds
collide.
Yeah, we get the winter birds that come south, and then the south ones come north. And so we have in Montana a lot of both.
So we've talked about the winter time. What kind of places should our guests be going in the summertime, and what kind of birds would they see then?
In the springtime, you can go anywhere.
Okay.
Giant Springs is good for migrants in the springtime. Rural late March or late May, mid-May to the end of May, they're just pouring through. You can go along the River's Edge Trail and find a lot of migrants. You're looking for habitat that may have trees and really tall shrubs and, head-high shrubs, and not like Gibson Park that's just grass and trees sticking up like lollipops. That's not habitat for birds. So you want different stories.
Okay.
So if you have that kind of thing, and especially if you have something blooming, because blooms attract insects, and then insects feed birds. So you've got all that stuff going on. So, when the currant bushes start blooming in the spring, you can start looking for something flying in there, looking for birds. If you have things like hawthorn trees, they have nice blossoms that really attract a lot of bugs.
Okay.
And you'll have warblers coming in, trying to get that. So when you start thinking about that and you're seeing the birds eating all these bugs out of the trees, you're thinking, I shouldn't be spraying for bugs in my trees because they're feeding a ton of birds.
Yeah.
So almost better than a bird feeder.
Oh, absolutely.
Buggy trees.
Buggy trees. Plant your native trees, which can survive any bugs that are on them. Okay. So you have native trees, native bushes that have berries, because then the berries and the flowers are all staggered, so you'll have natural bird food all year long, because really not all that many your really pretty birds don't eat birdseed.
Well, I don't think most of the birds eat the birdseed. It just ends up on the
ground. They
ground.
throw it around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a food fight.
I know.
Yeah.
My squirrels take care of the seeds, so they're really good.
Yeah,
I feed the squirrels.
They'll clean up the stuff off the ground.
Yeah.
Because there's not too much else for them to eat.
I don't care. They're a little cute. One of them is missing a tail, but he's still my favorite.
We have tail issues with ours too.
I'm like, it's okay, guy. Come back anytime.
Yep. One had a short tail. Well, he disappeared. But then we have another one that has like just a chunk of hair missing out in the middle of his tail. And
Man.
So
yeah.
You mentioned this. So summertime though, is there any highlighted area?
Summertime, they're nesting. So in the springtime, they're singing. They're easier to find. It's like, what's singing? When they're nesting, most of them are going to go quiet.
Okay.
So it's harder to find them.
Oh, okay. And then fall again is when they start kicking
fall,
back.
they're moving south. So then we'll see migrants moving south through
Yesterday
the area
morning,
again.
I had the window in the bathroom open while I was getting ready, and all I heard was just chirping. I don't know what lives next to my house, but there's a lot of them.
Your house sparrows and house finches are going to do a lot of chirping. Yesterday, I heard a house finch starting to sing. Oh. So, yeah, I think anytime after mid-January, you might start singing. The days are getting longer.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to do much with the temperature. It's the day length. It's getting longer. And they're going to start singing some. And that house finches sing so nice.
We have this huge pine tree in our yard. And last year, there was a gray bird. I'm going to call it a dove. It may or may not have been a dove. I don't know. Smaller than a pigeon.
Okay.
Maybe it was a pigeon. I have no idea. But it lived in our tree while it nested. And it scared the crap out of me one day. I was walking by and there it was. I just walked by and saw it staring at me. And so I back away. Like, you're okay. Just stay where you are. I'll get away from you.
I'll leave.
Was it a big spruce tree?
Yeah, big pine.
Okay.
Blue
spruce. Okay.
Yep.
We have Eurasian collared doves, and they can kind of hoo. Some people mistake them. Oh, I hear in Giant Springs, I heard an owl hooting. It was the Eurasian collared dove. It was daytime. They're very similar to the mourning dove, but mourning dove have a nice pointed tail. It comes down to a point. And the Eurasian collared dove, it's straight across. It's a flat tail. They're just bigger, bulkier, and they have a black collar around the back of their neck.
Yep.
And they do like blue spruce for nesting in.
Well, I just wanted to give it its space. Like, you can You can live in our tree. It's fine. Like, I didn't want it to get scared. So
Their recent arrivals, maybe last 10 to 15 years in Great Falls, there are a non-native bird. They came from Eurasia originally. Then they got down there in some Mediterranean islands. Then they hopped over to Florida. And from Florida, they just, you could see it, if you watch the population and the bird numbers, and you could probably find it in Ebird, you could just see how the population exploded all the way across.
Are they
the US.
invasive? They causing some problems?
No, they don't think they're causing any problems. They may just
Until
kind
it's
of
too late. No.
Well,
Armageddon.
I really don't think they like cold winters too much, but
So they're lost.
yeah, sometimes there've been some comments that people think that they just don't handle the cold weather very well. Like, it's like all of a sudden I don't have too many collared doves around. Most people don't mind that, but they seem to be fitting in. They don't seem to be pushing anything really out, although there's others that will say, yeah, they're taking the place of the mourning dove. The jury's still kind of out as far as I know on
we
that.
have an invasive species expert we've had on our program. And he's fun. Colin is a great time. He gets us excited about invasive species and telling us where they come from, what issues they cause.
I'm going to email him immediately after
We're
this
gonna
episode.
We've got
out.
Eurasian collared doves too, so it's not just
Well, one of the things we
It's not the
learned.
problem like zebra
Bullfrogs.
mussels and bullfrogs and
those type of things.
Those can be really bad.
Yeah, he told us about the end of the world and how we're causing it. So when you're like, hey,
Goldfish.
Goldfish. Oh, yeah. It's like there's goldfish in that little pond.
but don't stop growing.
Yeah. Well, Florida is terrible for invasives, but we're not there.
We're not.
Nope.
Thank goodness.
You're here in Montana
So all you Floridians, feel free to jump a plane, fly to Great Falls,
and invade Great Falls.
and see our birds.
So
Don't bring your invasive species with you. Just watch the ones we've got here.
Just bring your binoculars.
Yeah. I'm going to put some information on our website about the bird sighting opportunities here in Great Falls and some of the scenic routes that you can take from Great Falls to experience the hundreds and thousands of birds and their species.
Yeah.
I know that the Upper Missouri River Breaks Association, do they do anything with birds? I know they...
Our Audubon chapter?
Yeah, our Audubon, okay.
Upper Missouri Breaks Audubon.
Okay.
Yeah, we do some things.
Do you have any events that tourists are able to attend or jump in on? Or is it more of, hey, we're the experts here. Look at our website. This is what we've seen.
Yeah, we're a pretty small group. So,
Don't join them, people. Never mind. I said it.
I mean, we try
Let
to
them be.
We have our monthly programs. And like I said, we try to have some type of a field trip once a month. Last month, we just did the Christmas bird count. And that was it. This month, I'm going to... weather and roads permitting, we're going to head out and we're going to look for raptors.
Okay.
Especially winter raptors, and we'll find golden eagles and bald eagles and some nice birds like that.
Well, awesome.
But we don't have any programs like that. We've been doing some weed pulling out at Giant Springs. There's a lot of knapweed we were complaining about, and finally we just said, well, we're just going to...
We're doing it.
We're going out there and we're going to be pulling some weeds. So we pulled some weeds for 3 years so far, and a few areas have fewer weeds.
Thank you.
And every time I walked through it, it was like, I got to hit this spot next year and this spot next year. So, so we're doing that. We're also helping with some habitat there. And we're actually going to help out with some habitat out at the cemetery. There's some of the really old areas just kind of bare, and it's like, I think we could get some shrubs and some smaller stuff out there that might at least be protective for some of our grassland birds and some of our little birds.
Are you talking about Highland Park Cemetery?
Yeah.
Where Charlie Russell's buried.
Yeah.
So 2 birds, 1 stone. You could go out and see all the historic people that reside there and check out
do
all the
some
birds.
birding. People bird cemeteries quite a bit because most of them have some trees and shrubs, and it seems to attract things. It's kind of strange, but they do that.
Well, I
For a
don't
long
think
time-
it's strange.
For a long
clean up
while,
well at cemeteries.
there was a pair of great horned owls nesting out at Highland. Their tree and their nest got blown down. It just decayed. It was just an old tree. Great horned owls do not build their own nest.
They take over, right?
They take over, right?
Squatters' rights.
Yep. So without a home there, and by that time those owls were getting pretty old anyway, so we haven't had any nesting out there, but there's, little birds up in the trees. You just take your time and listen and watch that they are out there. So we've got the tall trees there already, but on the edges, we're going to help with doing that.
That's going to be cool.
Hopefully we can do it over a period of a couple of years and get some established and then add some more. Also out at Giant Springs, we've done a few plantings. Northwest Energy is doing a really big project out there. They're going to be planting, I don't know how many cottonwoods up beyond Heritage Park area.
Okay.
And they've recently fenced their, what they call the boneyard, where they have just store equipment and trailers and that type of thing. And we're going to help plant some shrubs and stuff to help kind of hide the fencing
and build
attract
habitat.
birds. Yeah, so we're going to concentrate on some
Go
more
Northwest Energy. I like them.
Oh yeah, they're doing. So if you see something going on there, and they're planting a bunch of trees and
That's
putting
fun.
in the watering system and everything, it's a really big project.
That's
Yeah.
really nice.
So we're excited about that.
Well, thank you so much, Beth, for coming on the
Yeah.
podcast. Like I said, I'm going to put this information on our show notes, which is at warnodamexperts.com.
Okay.
If you have any questions about birding or want to talk to me about your trip coming up to Great Falls, Montana, please give me a call at 406-761-4436.
I was going to say, I don't know why anyone's going to call you about birding, but we have learned quite a bit today.
Yes.
Well,
they're going to say they're excited just like I am, and they're going to come out and reserve. We're going to become friends, and we're going to reserve the hutch or the viewing area for 6 people. We'll be hot cocoa for everyone, and we'll be really loud.
Yeah, you want to bring something warm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, Beth, I really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us today. We'd love to keep you on the list for more information, because this can't be the only time we talk about birds, because it's such a strength for our area for people to enjoy and experience.
Oh yeah. I mean, I can still get a lifetime bird, So
Yes.
I haven't finished birding Cascade County yet.
Oh, well, it
And
sounds
most of them are
like
in Great Falls. Yeah.
Sounds like we've got a lot of opportunity here. So plan your trip. Let Maudie help you. And until we see your bright, smiling, happy face here in Great Falls, we hope you're having amazing memories with your family wherever you are. And then you better be planning that trip out.
Bye-bye.
We're No Dam Experts is the recorded claims from Great Falls, Montana, covering what you need to know about this amazing damn town. Damn, that felt good.
On the next episode of We're No Dam Experts, Rebecca and Maudie share with you everything they know about the 2022 ticketing system to enter Glacier National Park. We're No Dam Experts is produced by Great Falls, Montana Tourism with original music by the best damn musician, Joel Corda.